You think vampires are just pale people with fangs? Well, that's a lie. Because every culture on Earth tells the same story. Something that feeds on you while looking human. In Romania, they call them Strigoi, the dead that refuse to stay buried. In India, the Vetala doesn't drink blood, it wears your body. Across West Africa, the Adze slips through cracks as an insect, and it drinks you slowly. In Eastern Europe, the Upir spreads like a sickness, and in Southeast Asia, the Pontianak waits for you to be alone. Different names, different patterns. They come at night. They target the weak. They blend in. Even older stories say this didn't start with them. Some believe these creatures trace back to things like the Lilith or the Nephilim, something not fully human. So here's the real question. Are these just stories, or are they describing the same thing over and over again? What do you think? Strigoi, Romania. What is the Strigoi from Romanian folklore? The Strigoi doesn't just rise from the grave. It comes back with a purpose. Strigoi are troubled spirits or undead vampires that rise from the grave to drink blood, shapeshift, and hunt their former families. In Romania, people believed that certain dead couldn't rest. Not random, marked, born different, lived wrong, or passed unfinished. At first, nothing seems off. Then animals stop eating, milk spoils, family members get weaker night after night. The strigoi doesn't always attack violently. Sometimes it just visits, sits at the edge of your bed, drains you slowly. And here's what most people don't know. Some strigoi weren't fully dead. They could walk during the day, talk, eat, live until night came. Then the hunger showed. That's why graves were opened, bodies checked, because if the corpse looked too fresh, it wasn't resting. The Vetala, India. We heard when demons possess humans, but India has a name when wrong spirits get a hold of a dead body. The Vetala doesn't hunt you, it uses you. This entity is something older than vampire. It doesn't drink blood the way you expect. It takes control. A Vetala lives inside corpses, moves them, speaks through them. And once it enters, you are not dealing with a monster. You're dealing with something intelligent. It asks questions, plays games, tricks you into answering, because every answer gives it more control. Some stories say if you carry a possessed body, the Vetala will whisper to you the entire time, trying to break you, trying to stay. And here's the unsettling part. It doesn't always need a dead body. Some versions say it can take a living one, quietly, no warning. Just a shift, and suddenly, you're not the one in control anymore. Adze, West Africa. There's a West African vampiric shape-shifting creature that surprisingly doesn't look dangerous. Adze appears as a firefly. And that's the problem. In West Africa, this creature doesn't arrive as a monster. It arrives as something small, something you ignore. It slips through the cracks, through windows, into your home, and feeds. Not all at once, slow, repeated. You wake up weaker every day and never know why. But if it's caught, that's when it changes. The Adze becomes human-like, and now it's even worse, because it doesn't just feed anymore, it can possess, control, destroy from inside the community. People blamed it for illness, for bad luck, misfortune, for things that made no sense. Because how do you fight something that can be anywhere and look like nothing? The Upir, Slavic. There's another Slavic and Turkic vampiric creature that you probably never heard of. But the Upir isn't just a vampire. It's what spreads the idea of one. Well, let me explain. In Slavic regions, the Upir wasn't rare. It was feared like an outbreak. One death could lead to more. People believed the Upir would rise, then return to its village. So more like a zombie, you might ask? This creature will not return to hunt strangers, but to feed on family. And it didn't stop there. Those who passed after could become the same thing. That's how it spread, not a creature, a chain reaction. Some accounts describe the Upir as bloated, rat-faced, not the clean version you see today. And here is what people miss. The Upir wasn't always evil at first. Sometimes you didn't even know what it was until the hunger started. And by then, it was already too late. The Dhampir. By now we've seen a lot of horny vampires in movies. Typically there's a male vampire who falls in love, and in most cases he vampirizes a woman and they live happily until they meet Blade. In folklore, vampires often did freaky things with humans, and the offspring became inter-creature. A Dhampir is what happens when the line gets crossed. Not fully human, not fully vampire. Something between. Across the Balkans, people believed vampires could have children, and those children were different. They could see things others couldn't, sense the presence of the undead. Some were even hired to hunt vampires because they understood them. But here's the problem. They also carried the same hunger. Not always, not fully, but it was there. A pull. Some stories say Dhampirs lived normal lives. Others say they were unstable, caught between control and instinct. And if that line ever broke, you wouldn't be dealing with a vampire. You would be dealing with something worse, because it knows how humans think. That sounds like Dahmer. The Pontianak, Southeast Asia. I believe there is a connection between the La Llorona and the Southeast Asian Pontianak, also known as Kuntilanak. Both are vengeful female spirits, but let me explain the Pontianak. She's a female spirit that is tied to passing away during childbirth. A woman who didn't get to live, didn't get to finish. So she comes back. At first you hear crying, soft, distant. If it's quiet, you're good. But if the sound gets closer and closer, you might want to run. Because here's the twist. Right before she appears, everything goes silent. That's when it's already too late. She targets man, feeds through vengeance and life force. Appears beautiful at first, then changes. And what most people don't realize, the Pontianak isn't just attacking. It's reacting to something taken from her. Some say if you drive a nail into her neck, you can stop her. But if it's removed, she comes back. And this time, she remembers you. This is just the beginning. There are at least 40 major vampiric entities across the world. Jiangxi in China, to the Asambosam in Africa, to the Penanggalang in Malaysia, and the Vrikolakas in Greece. Different cultures, different pattern. Something feeding on human life, hiding in plain sight. I'm breaking all of them down, one by one, so you start seeing what connects them. So follow this page, because by the end of the series, you will not look at vampires the same way again.